Hello everybody and welcome to another Beyond All Reason video. Today we have a Battle of the Titans as Xfactorlive goes against rAndy. Both players up in the 50s of OS rank, so we're talking about top 5 players here. And on the classic map of Comet Catcher as well. So let's have a quick zoom in and look at both of the players here. See the friendly banter going on in the chat above. We have rAndy here as an Armada commander, just starting off his initial build, going for the double necks at the back and then walking for the third. We do often see a commander building the 2 starting solars here and then building a laser tower between the double mechs to give some form of defense. And if we switch over here to Xfactor, you can see that Xfactor has basically done what we were just speaking about. However, he did not walk to the 3rd metal extractor. Xfactor running his whole thing off so far off of just 2 metal points, which is a bit ambitious for a vehicle lab. Now Xfactor, being a Cortex commander here, does give him options when it comes to different factories that he could build, such as the Shuriken out of the air lab, which we will probably see get used at some point in this match. Now Xfactor surprisingly just chumping out a bunch of scouts here, not planning on actually building much, surprisingly not moving his commander. Using some of these scouts for defensive purposes and also just for posturing. Got double scout here on defense of that engineer. And now that this engineer on the bottom side has finished its metal extractor, he is now starting to move his commander around. When it comes to active economy, both players at the same point at the moment. Unfortunately, Xfactor has not been able to get any form of economy damage with all of the tremendous amounts of scouts that were built by him. He does have 4 in an aggressive situation here with only 2, now 3 scouts to defend. I'm going to try and get a metal extractor, but I don't think it's going to amount to much here. Oh, does actually manage to get 2 metal extractors for only losing a single scout. Very well done there, Xfactor. rAndy does have a construction vehicle nearby, so that's not too much of a worry. At the same time, rAndy has gotten a single expansion metal extractor here, and with this single scout is going to be able to do substantial damage to the base if left alone. However, Xfactor does have so many scouts to defend with that it's not really a problem for him. It did cause him some temporary energy issues whilst those solar panels were closed up. Now, if you don't know, once a solar power plant is attacked, it goes into off mode, which closes up the shields around it, gives it a small defensive bonus, and during that time period it does not generate any energy, so you can temporarily shut down the economy of a player by shooting all of their solars so that they close up. The time it takes for them to come online again is not, very long, so not really that substantial. But if you're doing a run by, being able to just mess up their energy economy temporarily is not a bad thing. Now, while we wait for some more of this initial stage to kind of go out of place, don't forget that if you like bar types of videos like this, to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We are very close to 2,000 subscribers on the channel, and I would very much appreciate the support. And yeah, so go ahead and do that. Now, rAndy trying to get a little bit of damage done here, but unfortunately does not manage to accomplish much with that scout. He's going to try and sneak one by at the bottom here, but has Xfactor noticed it? He has, and instantly trying to intercept, and will get taken out quickly. Yep. Now we do see Xfactor has transitioned over to fully fledged incisors, and so has rAndy. And still, this early stage is not much is going to happen. Xfactor has stayed in his base for a very long time though. And when we zoom out on the map here, rAndy is almost at the middle point in the map. Normally we would see both players fight over this middle section when they're commanders, but Xfactor is just quite happy to just sit back in base, slowly pumping out units. And unfortunately this raid on this south side here is going to make it through. Whether they'll get the construction vehicle or not in time is hard to say. No, rAndy deciding to just run past, get as much damage done as possible. He will get this double mechs at the back here. Construction vehicle might get saved by these last incisors, it does. But rAndy managing to take out not 1, 2, but 5 metal extractors there. And the unit is still going, probably going to be able to get a 6 if it was focused right. Unfortunately, it decided to shoot at the incisor instead. But still, 5 is a lot when it comes to economy damage. And unfortunately, this incisor push here around the back has done nothing but give rAndy some metal. Yeah, both players completely forget about that incisor and leave it for a minute. So when it comes to economy here, it's hard to see it, but in this top corner now, both players are on plus 22 metal a second. So very, very similar. Also very similar when it comes to energy production, with there being only 10 energy difference between the two at the moment. Now's when we're going to start seeing both players trying to make some plays, some raids. We see a big push down the bottom here from Xfactor with, how many we got here? 7 incisors. Only 2 blitzes and a scout to defend from that push at the moment. Great raiding going on here though from rAndy as he finds another exposed metal extractor. Unfortunately, the engineer is ready and able to defend. Well, a little bit of a mistake here as we see Xfactor building a mech on top of a mech that's already capped. Wasting that engineer's time. Loses the radar, will lose the construction vehicle maybe? Nope. Anyway, moving over to something a bit more daring as Xfactor pushes in with that large incisor push right into the front of the base of rAndy here. Gets a single metal extractor and he's trying to push in and get a bit of damage, but I think this is going to get mopped up fairly quickly. Gets another metal extractor. Trying to get the construction turret here, but unfortunately it will get reclaimed before it goes down. Oh no, manages to get the construction turret. That's a big amount of damage there to be done. 2 metal extractors, a radar, an LLT, and a construction turret for that attack. Meanwhile, rAndy doing the same now. Or not, actually. rAndy decided to split up his blitzes here to go for 2 different avenues of attack. The north one we see on the radar here, just trying to get some economy damage, as this second blitz push here is getting the split off again to try and get even more economy damage. When it comes to raiding right now, I would argue that rAndy definitely doing better on that front. Several times he's taken out these metal extractors to the bottom, and several times Xfactor has had to rebuild them. And that extra metal extractor does go down as well, because the construction vehicle down this bottom side has been very busy. And again, Xfactor been pushed down to nothing. All of the expansion Xfactor has been basically wiped out. He still has the construction vehicles, but it's not looking good for him so far. Meanwhile, surprisingly, all of this side north of rAndy's base has not been secured at all. Nor is the south, but the north side is where his commander is kind of protecting, so you would expect him to have sent a single construction vehicle up that way at least, but as of yet, nothing. rAndy just pushing forward with his commander here. All of these metal points here are just completely open. Xfactor built a double metal extractor yet again by accident. That's precious time wasted on building an additional extractor when it's not needed, but another push in from the bottom inside a group here, as the wall of solars may make it difficult for them to get any economy damage. We see this quite often as a play here. This is building solars, because like I said earlier on, when they go into defensive mode, they have a bit of armor. And we see now rAndy sees those units and is desperately trying to build some LLTs. And Xfactor may have lost an opportunity here to get some substantial damage in by letting him build all of these LLTs up. And this force here will probably get taken out relatively quickly. Only getting a single metal extractor and an LLT for that push there. Not really worth it. Xfactor pumping out units at a tremendous pace now, though. We see these reinforcing units trying to come and help those incisors that were under attack. However, this force here is a lot bigger than the Blitz force that was defending. Did have to push into a double LLT, though. Just desperately trying to repair it. Manages to take it out. We'll probably get both the construction vehicles here as well. Nope, manages to only get one. At the same time, push on the top here from Xfactor again. Almost gets another construction vehicle. This Dragon's Claw pop-up turret will do a significant amount, though, to hold the line. And there we go. The defensive force on the bottom node was not good enough to hold. The top held, but the bottom didn't. So many incisors coming out from Xfactor that rAndy's just struggling to keep up. Economy wise, currently we're looking Xfactor with a metal produced, well, he's reclaiming, so it's hard to tell, but I would argue about 58. And rAndy with only 47, only just starting to cap this corner that we mentioned about before, and this attack here will get mopped up pretty quickly. Xfactor just grouping up units on the north and middle of the map here. Just constantly throwing forces at rAndy here, stopping him expanding in the bottom area where he's currently the weakest, and just keeping pressure on. He's tried to push in again along this north side, but I don't think it's going to amount to much, as the pop-up laser lightning turret there is enough to hold back small units. But the south side force does manage to make a break for it. rAndy has now transitioned to stouts. Surprised that we're not seeing some Janisses here with the splash damage to deal with a bit of the grouped up units. Janisses are quite slow though, and the incisors will chase them down. But another construction vehicle gets taken out. It's not going well for rAndy now. He has been building up stouts for a little while, but we can see that the build power that Xfactor has here with his commander in base, he's able to push out these brutes so quickly. How long are we talking? 5 seconds per brute. And if we switch over here, well, to be fair, rAndy's is pretty similar as well. Could argue that rAndy has more build power right now. 5 construction turrets to 5 construction turrets. So fairly even. The incisor force down the bottom here is starting to get whittled away. And we see rAndy going back on the offensive here in the middle, where he'd lost these forces a minute ago. The tide of brutes and stouts just clashing into each other at this rally point that they're setting. Meanwhile, the commander at the top is just idle, kind of doing nothing, as there's nothing for him to do. Now, the Cortex do have one advantageous mechanic here. Armed metal extractors. Xfactor can use these to kind of help hold down a position here, whilst still getting more economy. And at the moment, it is kind of working for him. You can see the map is definitely more spread out in Xfactor's favor here. this force on the bottom managing to make a dent, taking out even more of rAndy's economy here. A lot of combat taking place across the map line here. These brutes will not last very long. Xfactor turning them around, trying to save them if he can. Meanwhile, this force on the bottom is making some damage, but again will get mopped up by the sheer overwhelming force of brutes coming raining down on the stouts. And occasionally another double metal extractor being placed here by Xfactor. I don't know what's going on with his key bindings or what. That's a lot of reoccurrences of that happening here. Multiple tank movements going on across the map here. Push into this top side, trying to isolate the commander of rAndy from the rest of his base. I don't know if Xfactor necessarily knows the commander is there. Doesn't look like it, but that could be a dangerous situation here for rAndy. rAndy's just been on the defensive for a long time now, constantly losing metal extractors, not really able to amount to much here. Another fight going on this bottom side here is just constant. rAndy not able to keep up, trying to move his commander down to get some LLTs down just to defend, but LLTs don't really do very well against brutes here. Needless to say, the build power here of Xfactor, he's actually getting to the point where he needs an additional factory. You can see he's accessing metal right now. Not accessing, but he's got a substantial bank of metal. If he really wanted to, he could go Tech 2 here, but I think he's happy with the pressure. He doesn't want to give rAndy the time. Just wants to keep pushing, forcing rAndy to defend, forcing rAndy to rebuild. I mean, keep applying that pressure. He's eventually just going to be able to reach the base. All this time, Xfactor is able to just group up more and more forces here, and he's getting all the reclaim. That's the key thing here. We've got 3.7k metal reclaim here, and he's managing to get most of it. We can see Xfactor here prioritizing killing these construction vehicles here, stopping rAndy from getting any of that reclaim first, and then moving on afterwards to kill the tanks. Don't quite know how that survived, but it is what it is. Meanwhile, this fight is continuing on this bottom side. Xfactor now with 2 factories constantly pushing out units here, and I don't know how rAndy can come back from this. Economy wise, Xfactor is about 25 metal ahead. He's got reclaim coming in now, so it's hard to tell, but about that. Some D-guns going off from rAndy here as he tries to stem the tide of fire coming into his direction, but Xfactor is able to pull back a little bit, try and secure this reclaim field, and he does not want to go all in just yet. We see rAndy's not really doing much right now. He's just trying to hold on. He's trying to get some defenses up that can just withhold against these brutes. Trying to get some of this reclaim. Still 2.7k metal reclaim. rAndy losing those construction bots, trying to use his commander here to build up this lightning pop-up dragon's claw. They do a substantial amount of damage, but just look how many tanks there are here. 17 brutes against 13 stouts. It's just not enough. rAndy trying to get some D-guns off to try and even the fight here. This is dangerous though. He's got no units close enough to get back to him quickly. This forces the stouts to have to go in on the brutes. rAndy having to be forced back. rAndy unable to send any form of like distraction units. Every unit he produces is going down to this flank here. Desperately trying to come on, but look at the stream of tanks coming out. So many tanks coming out from Xfactor here. Meanwhile, rAndy just can't keep up the flow. He's trying to build these dragon claws, but look how quickly they're getting taken out. managing just to keep it alive. Build power he has there is enough to do a substantial amount, but we see Xfactor here just changing position. He's going to leave that 5.8k metal. So much metal. Instead, he's like, right, I'm just going to go clear out the rest of the map then. You can have that. And he's got two distinct groups of tanks here. You've got this north one of about 17 and this bottom one of 10 here. Going to try and get a circle on these stouts. Unfortunately, I think this is the end for rAndy. We did see here a transition to Tech 2. Unfortunately, it's not going to work out. rAndy unable to get any Tech 2 units out before going to be taking too much damage here. He does get a bull out. That's not enough to stop the sheer onslaught of tanks coming into his base. Desperately trying to use his commander here to mop up some of the tanks coming in, but look, all of the economy just absolutely decimated. He does have a couple of advanced solars, but it's not going to be enough. For some reason, he's trying to build some beavers. Actually, why is he trying to build beavers? They're like so much more energy cost and metal cost. And that's it. rAndy's base gets completely annihilated, and with that, rAndy is game over. So this is an example, I guess, of when going Tech 2 is not necessarily the right move. He had to do something. He wasn't going to survive otherwise, so he tried his best to go Tech 2 in the hope that that would, you know, change it in his favor, but unfortunately not. And with that, rAndy has no base left to speak of. Surprisingly, he's not just going in on the commander here. Xfactor choosing to completely annihilate the rest of the map first. Why? I don't know. But he has full control of the map. Xfactor with 3 vehicle factories at the end there. And that's it for this one. There is no way that rAndy brings this back. And there we go. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. And I'll see you guys next time.